Welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. It is episode 504, Smoke Gets in My Eyes. We'll talk about that, but you can probably figure out if you were on the Eastern Seaboard, you probably figure out what that's all about. It's 11:46 p.m. here on June 10th, 2024, 10 days before I turn 50, so we're in the final countdown here. It's first full week of June. My dad's birthday started the week off, and the week ended with this show. So tomorrow is beginning of a new week, Sunday, the 11th. School's out. I forgot to write that down there too. School's out for the kids. So school's out officially on Tuesday. And then we have Flag Day and birthdays coming up, and Father's Day is rolling through. And then it's my birthday, and then my party, and then it's 4th of July weekend. So interesting stuff coming up. Summer's moving pretty quickly. Been a interesting week. This week has consisted of smoke, wildfires, TikToks, deaths, Fortnite, Community Day, school's ending sort of stuff, and a lot of death, as I said before, and some interesting stuff rolling through here. So I guess without further ado, let's jump right into the main story of this week, the Canadian wildfires, which happens to be more proof that climate change is a real thing, because I have never, ever known Canada to ever have any wildfires. Due to the fact that it's usually fairly coolish up there, and they get a good amount of rain off of the lakes and the rivers up there. But due to the decrease in the ice pack up there in the Arctic and the change in the climate, stuff like that, all kinds of stuff is changing up here, and Canada became the latest victim of that. You can't honestly really blame them for everything when California is on fire practically all the time also, and their smoke probably makes their way up there eventually sometimes too, depending on the wind shift. So, but it was something that had never been seen before. It was particularly bad in New Jersey and the New York area, I guess more along the lines of closer to Canada and where the wind was blowing at. Now, no. Even though it was wildfires from Canada, we still were affected by it here in Baltimore, though, as I said, not to the extreme that it was in New Jersey, New York. I mean, you've obviously seen the pictures of the yellow, sort of fog thing that was going on through New York City. And you also got to consider also that New York is also a fairly big city, and they probably have their own issues with smog. So mixing with the wildfires sort of created this kind of design, I would guess. Down our way, it was just kind of a foggy sort of mess, kind of hard to breathe, somewhat hazy. It was particularly bad on Thursday afternoon. Not afternoon, before noon, Thursday around 11 a.m. I went outside from work to go take out some cardboard, and it was just, the smell was just unbearable, and it was hard to breathe. So I stayed out there as little as I could. And then when I came out of work later that day around 4 o'clock, it had shifted and cleared out and was just absolutely lovely. So the rest of the day Thursday, and then all day Friday, and then all day today has been very lovely here in Maryland. But as I said, we didn't have it as it was the extreme in New York, but we did have some haze. The sun was orange. I was wondering why it was when I noticed it like on Tuesday or Wednesday, why the sun was so orange. It was weird, but I didn't think much of it till I started hearing about the Canadian wildfires. And then it just sort of cleared out. So I'm glad I kind of did that. Appears to be the case now that they've either stopped or shifted, because there was a picture of New York that they showed in 24 hours. One had it was of the Empire State Building, and one was like one day it was all covered in orange haze, and then 24 hours later it was blue sky and cloudy. So it's obviously cleared out of the system now. So that's a good thing. So that was something interesting and unique, but also fairly scary, because just more proof that climate change is real, despite what other people are saying. So I'm not going to get into that much more. Friday also was the beginning of the new Fortnite season. Chapter 4, Season 3. That's right. Yep, Season 3. Wilds, jungle biome appeared in Fortnite land. Raptors are back. You can ride them now. There's some new weapons and some old weapons that were vaulted to come back out. And Transformer Optimus Prime is the top tier level in the battle pass, and Optimus Primal was available in the shop, so I picked him up also. The biomes are pretty. The new jungle biome is pretty cool, and the new weapons are really neat. But it appears to be it's going to be a short season, unlike the other ones that have lasted about 3 months. The official date right now has it ending on August 25th, which is June 9th, June, July, August 9th is like 2.5 months. And usually it's about 3 months is how long the event is. They have 2 end dates. So 25th is one, which is my son's birthday, and September 10th is the other one, which makes a lot more sense if you're going to go for the 3-month period. So either somehow they're going to reduce this schedule down a little bit, but and maybe make the final season for the year be much longer than usual, or they're going to just put a little leeway in there to put these 2 dates in there so that if they don't hit their August 25th for whatever reason, maybe a new collaboration comes in, something else pops up, they come up with another idea and they throw it in there type of thing, and extends the season a little bit, which has happened many times before. It'd be good. My second match ever of the new season, I got a victory royale. And then I got one today with my son, so that was good. So I've got 2 for this year already, so good on that. So we'll see. Played a little bit this morning. We'll play probably some more tomorrow. Going to the Oriole game tomorrow with the Scouts. They're playing the Royals. Hopefully do a sweep. They've won the first 2 games of the series. Hopefully it'll be a sweep, so that'll be nice. I guess the next thing I want to talk about was TikTok, but I think in order to talk about what I liked about TikTok this week, I have to discuss 2 anniversaries here. Actually, technically 3. Within 2 days, we've had June 7th, 1985. The Goonies premiered, which is a huge geek sort of film, one of my wife's favorite films. It debuted in 1985. And in 1984, next year will be the 40th anniversary of these, Ghostbusters and Gremlins debuted on the same day, June 8th, 1984. So it's not quite the 40th anniversary. Next year will be the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters and Gremlins, but they've basically called June 8th Ghostbusters Day. They do that now with a lot of other stuff. You have Star Wars Day and stuff like that, but June 8th is Ghostbusters Day. So there is a new Ghostbusters movie coming out in December, sequel to Afterlife, Ghostbusters Afterlife, which if you have not seen it, you absolutely need to see it. It was in my top 20, I think, in my 500 best movies. Highly rewatchable, a very likable cast, including who I have a newfound respect for, one of the best young actors out there, McKenna Grace. You probably don't know the name, but you definitely know who she is. And the funny thing is, she was born on June 25th, 2006. So she's basically the same age as my daughter, about 6 months older than her, but they share the same year of birthday. So she is going to be 17 at the end of the month, and she's already racked up multiple roles. She is best known for playing the young versions of Tanya Harding in the I, Tanya movie, Sabrina in the Netflix Sabrina Spellman show, Carol Danvers in the Captain Marvel movie, and what's the other one? The house on the Haunting of Hill House. She has a big role in that as a young version of one of the older kids who pops in that. She was the star of Ghostbusters Afterlife and is the star of the sequel to it. She's been a regular recurring role in Young Sheldon. Let's see if I can give you just a list of and I'm just impressed by how impressed this actress is, and at such a young age she has potential to be a huge actress in the future, because she's already going to have, as long as she doesn't fall into the kid actor thing. She does a lot of voice roles. Angry Bird, she's going to be taking over the role in Paw Patrol. of what do you call it, Sky. So she's going to be taking over the role of that as a voice. She was a main role in the sequel to Independence Day. Might not have been very good, but to see what she was in the sequel to Independence Day, she was in Gifted, which was Chris Evans's movie after his Captain America movies that didn't do too well. She was in Amityville. She was in Ready Player One. She was in The Bad Seed. She was in Annabelle Come Home. She was the voice of young Daphne Blake in Scooby, the animated thing. She was a voice in the Spirit Untamed show. She was a regular on the show Crater, or the movie Crater, which is on Disney Plus. She's been on The Young and the Restless in a recurring role. She was also, where's the other one she's been a recurring role in? She was in 4 episodes in Once Upon a Time, 3 episodes as young Emma Swan, 3 episodes of CSI Cyber. Where else has she had? She had a recurring role in Designated Survivor as Kiefer Sutherland's daughter. She had a recurring role in Fuller House, I guess, as one of the neighbors. Young Sheldon. She has a recurring role, The Handmaid's Tale. So she's done so much, but she is one of these chameleonic actresses that you might recognize her, but you're not. She's enough to change up her look enough that you're like, is that the same actress? But I'm very impressed by her. But the reason why I'm talking about McKenna Grace is because since she's making the sequel to Ghostbusters, it was Ghostbusters Day, she made a wonderful TikTok of a version of, I guess, the TikTok trend, which I didn't know about till I saw this video. The song Ceilings. The singer is Libby something, I believe. Ceilings, Lizzie McAlpine, not Libby, Lizzie McAlpine, which is a wonderful romantic song. And the original version is really good. And then the sped up version they use for the TikToks is really good also. And they use just the last couple lines of the song for the trend, which is you start singing the song and you're moving around, stuff like that. You're supposed to run real quick and then finish up like on the ground at the end, because it's a very sad sort of song about a woman who, I listening to it a few times, the full song, it starts off with ceilings and plaster. So I have a feeling she's maybe in the hospital dying or something like that. And she's flashing back to a love that she never experienced, like one that she's seen in a movie before. And then she realizes that it's not real and is sad. And that's the end of the song. But it's a beautiful song, and the sped up version is so good, and it's a wonderful trend. And so McKenna did a version of that, which I have been unable to stop playing because it's so good, just because of the way she dances, and the song itself is really, really good. And she gives us a good background of behind the scenes look at the Ghostbusters sequel set of the firehouse, and it looks like they're in the old firehouse in New York, and they've got she slides down the pole and you see it, she's like in the garage area where the Ecto-1 is, and you can see the lockers with the names on it. And then she goes out onto the street, and there's lots of green screen stuff. And then you have the mock up of the exterior of the Ghostbusters building. So you get kind of, not only do you get a really nice song and dance, but you also get a really nice look at how movies are actually made. Apparently it's being made on Pinewood Studios in London. So the green screen is going to show, New York scenes and stuff like that. So it's very cool. So unfortunately I had it on, first saw it on Facebook, and then it was on Instagram. Oh no, it was on Instagram first. I think I saw it first on Instagram, so I put it on my favorites thing, and then she removed it from Instagram. But a couple of other people have posted it on Facebook, and it's still there. So it's going to be hard to find. But I think if you have her TikTok, if you follow her on TikTok, I think she still has it on her TikTok, because she would have deleted everything if it wasn't someplace already. But it's just really neat, and it got me thinking about how great the song is, and just what a wonderful young actress she is, and the potential for her to be a force to be reckoned with within the next 20-30 years. if she can continue on the path that she's going on. So congratulations to her. And I am dying to see the movie, not just because of her, but because I love Afterlife so much. And this is just really good. Leaf. All right. So there's that. Ahsoka had a new trailer come out this week, the Disney Plus series based on the character from Star Wars. And it has an official date now. Now, originally people were projecting it to be August 31st. It is not. It is earlier. Ahsoka will premiere on Disney Plus on August 23rd. So we'll see that coming up here soon. So that's good. He who shall not be named, the previous president, who is one of the absolute worst people in the world, has been indicted for a second time, this time based on the federal documents that he stole and sold to enemies that end up killing our operatives, American people. But the Republicans tend to think that we shouldn't be busting him for this, and this is all nonsense, so on and so forth. It's just driving me absolutely crazy. But that's all I want to say about that. A lot of deaths this week. And speaking of that, we had Pat Robertson dead. He was a 700 Club religious bigot asshole who absolutely detested gay people and black people and stuff like that. And it's always hard to be happy about the death of somebody, but this person was an absolutely awful person who was applauding the deaths of gay and black people as well. So, I'm not going to shed a tear for him. Iron Sheik, on the other hand, he is a famous wrestler. He passed away this week as well. I think it doubled up on him, so I need to there's a lot of death in here. But yeah, he was. I've never was a big wrestling fan, but he was a huge presence on the wrestling circuit, and supposedly one of the really good guys out there. The Unabomber Ted Kaczynski died at the age of 81 today. Today of all days. So that was a good. Again, you don't want to be too happy about the deaths of people, but a guy who was a terrorist, basically, who finally got caught because he screwed up, which is good. So he died at the age of 81 in federal prison. So there's that. Ian McGinty, an Invader Zim artist, passed away this week as well, actually today, I think, as well. And George Winston, who is a new age piano player who you've heard of. He's released a bunch of seasonal albums, stuff like that. He's a really good piano player. He's been on a lot of new age sort of discs and stuff like that. He passed away this week as well. Continuing with deaths on this page, we have Mick Hudson, music photographer, died at the age of 58 this week. Mike Batea, a comedian and a Breaking Bad actor, passed away this week as well. And Reuben Wilson, organist who helped bring about the soul jazz era, died at the age of 88 this week as well. Anniversaries, The Truman Show is 25 years old this week. Great show, a great movie with Jim Carrey doing his more of his straight drama to show that he can do it. Peter Weir directed it. He directed Robin Williams and Dead Poet Society, which gave Robin Williams a chance to be serious as well and be treated that way as well. The character of Spider-Man was created 61 years ago this week as well. So it's Spider-Man week as well. Speed, the Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock movie, is 29 years old this week as well. Be 30 years old next year. So that'll be interesting. And the third studio album by my favorite band of all time, REM, Fables of the Reconstruction, debuted in 1985 this week. I'm trying to remember what was on Fables. Because Fables is one of those that I don't think I have a lot of favorites. Let me see what is the playlist. 12 videos. Let's see what they are. It's Feeling Gravity's Pull, Maps and Legends. Driver 8 is a great song. Maps and Legends is good. Life and How to Live It is good. Old Man Kenzie's okay. Can't Get There From Here is good. Cahotek. Oh, I like Cahotek a lot. So yeah, I'm just trying to see what else. Good Advice is in there too. So some good ones. As I said, not my absolute favorite REM album, but it is pretty good. Has some good songs on there. I forgot about Cahotek. Cahotek's a really good song. I gotta check my REM. I have an REM playlist of my favorite 108 like REM songs. I don't remember seeing Cahotek. It might be one of the ones that got deleted off because I like Cahotek a lot. So yeah, there's that. And is there another anniversary I missed? Nope. So that's all the anniversaries for this. So now we get back to the regular news. School's out for the summer. I'll talk about that as well. Here in Baltimore County, technically, school does not end until Tuesday of this week, which makes that the 13th of June. And both my kids don't need to go the next 2 days of school. Monday and Tuesday are going to both be half days. And for my daughter in high school, she's been told that Monday and Tuesday are makeup days for exams in case you were sick, you missed them or skipped them or whatever, and needed to get them done before you leave for the year. You come in on Monday and Tuesday and you retake you take your exams. But since Noelle's already took her exams, they told her that and anybody who took her their exams already, that they should not be on school grounds because for all intents and purposes, they're done their schooling for the year. Now, the reason why we have these extra 2 days is because there's a federally mandated, you have to have a specific amount of school days in a year. And that's why, when they add snow days to that gives them a little bit of a leeway that they if they didn't have snow and they couldn't get to school or whatever, they'd be in school. So they give them a little leeway with those snow days to take off. But once you get past your allotted snow days, if you have a big winter, they have to start adding days to the school calendar to cover the allotted federal mandate. Now, my son isn't going because he is in 8th grade, and basically on Friday they had a ceremony which parents were not invited to, which is still kind of odd, where they basically said it was an awards thing, and then they basically said, 8th graders, you are now 9th graders. You do not have to be here anymore. So farewell, good luck, and thanks for all the fish. And so now my son is officially a freshman in high school, even though he technically won't start until after his birthday. So he still got the summer to do that, but so there's no reason for him to show up on Monday or Tuesday because they basically said you don't need to be here. You're done. You've done all your exams, all your grades are in. That's it. And basically for those next 2 days, really nothing's going to be done. That's the way it always has been. But because of this federal mandate, they have to do this. And everyone knows it's stupid. Everyone knows that the classrooms are going to be practically empty. The teachers don't want to be there, but they have to be there for the federal allotment time. So, but regardless, as of now, as of Friday, my kids are off for the summer, even though technically there's still 2 days left in the school year. But my son doesn't have to deal with it, and neither does my daughter. So that's good on that end. Excuse me. So good on that. And so hooray. And fall's coming quickly. So, but summer just started really for them. Let's see. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. The new Transformers movie came out Friday. The Thursday night previews brought in $8.8 million. So way underneath what Spider-Verse did. But still a decent haul for a Thursday night. So people are expecting Transformers to take the number one spot away from Spider-Verse, but we'll see. My daughter went to see Spider-Verse today with a friend of hers, and they seem to enjoy it, so that's good. I tend to probably going to see it either maybe next Saturday. I think my kids are going to Hershey Park, and I really honestly don't want to go to Hershey Park. So if I'm allowed to stay home for like a Father's Day sort of thing, I might go see Spider-Verse then, or I might wait till July when I'm taking the week that they're off from camp off as well. So I might see it one of those days as well. So we'll see. Apparently Batman Forever has a Schumacher cut. Are we going to keep doing these? We need director's cuts of everything. And of course, the guy who speaks for all of us, Kevin Smith, apparently went and saw it and said it's or is going to see it and is hoping it's going to be decent. So we'll see. But did not know there was a Schumacher cut, and I don't really know how you can improve on Batman Forever's not too bad, but if they took out some stuff, that's the only way I could think of that they could improve upon it. Jim Carrey's performance is absolutely awful as the Riddler because the Riddler's my favorite villain, and he was playing him as Joker Light, and that's not who the Riddler is. And no, Tommy Lee Jones was okay as Harvey Dent, but it just I did not like a lot of it. Val Kilmer wasn't bad as Batman. I think Chris O'Donnell was good as a. It would have been better as a Nightwing because he was too old really to play Robin, but that was a kind of a good casting, I think, on that. So we'll see, but we'll see about that. Do I really want to see it? Probably not. We'll see, but yay. Beyond the Spider-Verse, the third part of the Spider-Verse saga is due out March 29th, 2024. So still got some time to go before the final part of the trilogy comes out. So got time to see the other one here. This year marks Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, but not till November. But some of the heralded lost Doctor Who shows have reappeared this week. I don't know if you know the history. Doctor Who has been around since 1963, which obviously makes it the 60th anniversary. And so there was a period in there in the mid to late 60s where a number of episodes of Doctor Who that aired on BBC disappeared. No one knew where they went. No one had copies of them. They didn't know where they were. So they never aired them again, or they were never aired in the first place. I'm not exactly sure how the story works, but they disappeared. And gradually they've been reappearing periodically. I don't know how. People are, I guess, finding them in strange locations or whatever, but a new batch of missing ones popped up this week. So that's a to be continued story, I guess. Earlier this week, Bryan Cranston said in an interview that he was going to be retiring from acting as of 2026. And everybody went freaking apeshit about that. So much so that Bryan Cranston had to go on to another show and do an interview and refute what he said. He said, "You guys misconstrued what I said. I'm taking a year off from acting to spend time with my wife who's put up with me during all these times and just to sort of see which way the wind is blowing because I'm going to be 70 years old and, I'm not getting any younger and there's only so many roles out there that I want to do or play or whatever." I can't believe he said he's going to be 70. Is he really going to be 70? I find that really hard to believe. But that's what he said in the interview. So let me just see. This is 1956. Yeah. 2026. He'll be 70 years old. Wow. So I guess is why people picked 2026 as the year that he was going to retire. But he said, "I'm not retiring. I'm going to take a year off to reassess things, spend time with my wife, who I've been not neglecting, but I haven't spent as much time as I should have with her. They've been together for 30 some years. So he is not retiring. He just wants to see which way the wind is going to blow. And he's just going to take a year off. Everyone's doing that. Tom Holland this week also said he's going to take a year off from acting after dealing with that show. He's doing an Apple Plus now, The Crowded Room or something like that. So Spider-Man's already been delayed anyway, so it makes sense, fits the window anyway for that. So he won't be doing anything after that. So we'll see what happens, to be continued. Studio Ghibli, who makes the Japanese animated movies like Kiki's Delivery Service and Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away, and My Neighbor Totoro, stuff like that, Howl's Moving Castle, stuff like that. They're going to be releasing a complete soundtrack collection on vinyl. So if you are a vinyl collector, Gary, and you like the Studio Ghibli music, they will be releasing on vinyl here very soon. I don't know when exactly. Red Notice Part 2 is coming. Red Notice Part 1 was a Netflix movie that starred Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and The Rock. It was successful enough that they have requested a sequel, and it is going to be fit in once everybody's schedules open up and does stuff like that. Alan Ritchson, who plays Reacher, was in the Hunger Games movie, stuff like that, is going to be starring in a new holiday comedy movie called The Man with the Bag. It's directed by Adam Shankman, who directed the movie version of the musical Hairspray and a bunch of other popular comedy, stuff like that. The basic premise behind it is someone has stolen Santa Claus's bag of toys, magical bag of toys, and he has to resort to checking the naughty list and finding a group of criminals who will be able to help get his bag back. It's a neat premise for a movie, and Alan Ritchson is going to be playing one of the villains who's trying to go straight, but Santa wants him to do one more job here to try to save Christmas, sort of thing. So that should be interesting. Caddyshack is a B movie that's a mix of Caddyshack and Gremlins. That just seems like a rather odd sort of thing to say. And Stephen Kang has directed and written Sharks of the Corn, not Children of the Corn, not Stephen King. Stephen Kang has written and directed a movie called Sharks of the Corn, which a couple of my Snark Out friends said they saw it and they said it's not very good. It's not supposed to be, but thanks for the warning. I wasn't planning on watching it probably anyway. Hugh Grant is going to be starring in an A24 horror feature called Heretic from A Quiet Place writer. So he's going to be Hugh Grant's having sort of kind of a renaissance. He was in the fantasy movie Dungeons and Dragons. He had a small role in Glass Onion, and now he's doing this horror movie. So that's interesting. Cher, yes, the Cher is producing a new horror film called Little Bites. So everyone's jumping on the horror train. So we'll see how that goes with that. Fright Crew, Eli Roth of Thanksgiving fame coming up Thanksgiving, and James Frey and DreamWorks are doing a horror animated series, I think for Netflix, called Fright Crew. So that should be, he called it like a gateway to horror. So it's for people who might not be horror fans, but it's an animated movie or series that's not going to be childish. It's going to be a way to get people into the horror aspect of it by showing it in animated form, I guess. I guess that makes sense to me. Leprechaun, the horror classics, are being reimagined by director Felipe Vargas, so we'll see what that reimagining means. Some comic stuff. I actually have a lot of comic stories this week. The Ultimate Universe is returning to Marvel this summer. Ultimate Invasion is going to bring the Ultimate Universe back to the Marvel 616 world proper, but then they're going to spin off into their own series of comics again. For those who don't know, the Ultimate Universe was a series of comics that, I guess, back around the turn of the century, Marvel needed to refresh their brand a little bit, so they created a new multiverse, sort of a new dimension with their popular characters. Start with Spider-Man, X-Men, Ravage. No, that was 2099. Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four was in there, and I feel like I'm missing somebody. And they were, and the Ultimates, that's what it was, which was their version of the Avengers. So basically they were reimagining these characters for contemporary times, and that brought Brian Michael Bendis to Marvel, and him and Mark Bagley did a fabulous run on Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Bendis continued with Sarah Pichelli, which introduced Miles Morales to the world. So that's why he was the guy who was in charge of the Spider-Verse. Dan Slott made the Spider-Verse, but Brian Michael Bendis was the one who created Miles. That's right. So there's that aspect of it, but the comics were more grown up or adult, and they had Mark Millar, who likes to deconstruct comics, is the Zack Snyder of comics for the most part. So he liked to deconstruct them and turn them into assholes. And I was not a big fan of his writing style. He wrote most of the other stuff as well as Bendis did. but it was a huge popular thing till it became too popular, and then it just got out of hand, and so they had to destroy the world, but kept some of the key characters, including Miles Morales, into this world as well. But they're bringing it back. Not a big surprise, really, to be honest. So there we go. Kelly Thompson, who had a long run on Captain Marvel, has jumped ship to DC, and as part of their new DC reboot, 50 millionth reboot, she's going to be writing a new Birds of Prey series. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. She's a great writer, and I think she's got a good cast of characters, and it's going to be interesting. Comic, but I hate how these Marvel and DC comic companies just have to reboot everything all the freaking time. It's really dumb, but they see the money that gets generated from number one, stuff like that, so they go absolutely, and they want to make it accessible for people, so they do these number ones all the time. Some food stuff. Hostess Twinkies and Hostess Cupcakes pudding is a new thing. I guess that could be interesting. Voltron beer is a thing based on the classic cartoon series my wife absolutely loves. They're making a Voltron beer now. Jumpin' Jack, Jack Cheese, and Blazing Buffalo and Ranch Doritos are coming back out on shelves as well. Lucky Charms is creating a new cereal. It's a limited edition chocolate Lucky Charms cereal with haunted marshmallows. You'd think they'd wait till Halloween to release that, but I think they're releasing it sooner than later. That's all the food stuff. The Directors Guild of America did not go on strike. They had made a deal on a new contract, and they're hoping that their deal will lead to the Writers Guild to take a look at what they've got and to figure out a way to integrate that into their wanting their new contracts and see if they can work out a deal there. On the other side, SAG-AFTRA has voted that they will strike. They're not striking now because they haven't gone into contract negotiations, but they will. They had a vote and they said, if it comes to this, are you on board with a strike? And that ruling passed. So if SAG and AFTRA cannot get a deal done on a contract with the companies, the distributors or whatever, they will officially strike as well if they do not get the deal that they want. So they're going to strike also. So the Directors Guild is the only one that so far has signed on to a new contract series, and it's the directors tend to have a little bit more of the power, I think, and probably are the easiest ones to appease a little bit more. Supposedly they have a now one of the things of their contract is they're going to have the right to do a second cut of a movie for like television, which I think is stupid. Why don't you just do one cut and that's it? And if the company doesn't like it, well, too bad, what do I know? Local news, the B&O Railroad Museum, which I've been to a number of times, is getting a $30 million makeover. It's going to transform the campus and the exhibit space to make it look a little bit different, refresh it a little bit, get more people to come visit it, stuff like that. So that's coming up. And in the world of the supernatural, a Las Vegas family calls 911 claiming that there were a number of 9-foot-tall unidentified beings wandering around in their yard. Now, what made this more interesting is that right before they got the call, the police got on their body cameras a shot of what looked like a UFO crashing. So you connect that. So they had what they thought was body cam photo of a UFO crashing nearby. And as they're going to investigate, they get the call in saying a family nearby is saying they see unidentified beings in their yard. So they go to there. So you can, a lot of the people who are UFO buffs are connecting the dots and saying, okay, this is kind of interesting. That being said, Las Vegas is near Area 51, and if Area 51 is still, or even Area 52, which is rumored to be where they're all heading out now, that's all in the same general area. If that is indeed the case, could this be something from there? So that's a more of an intriguing UFO case than a lot of the ones that we do see. The fact that police officers have body cam footage of a UFO crashing, and then they get a call literally a few minutes later from a family saying there are beings, unidentified beings in our yard who we don't recognize, and we want them, gone. Can you scare them away? Something like that. So I guess to be continued, we'll see what happens. We have the first Special Ops Lioness trailer, which is a new CIA show from Paramount Plus, and Taylor Sheridan of Yellowstone fame. Stars Zoe Saldana, Morgan Freeman, Nicole Kidman, to name a few. It looks like your typical sort of action, sort of thriller, CIA sort of thing. Milkshake, which is a god-awful song, by the way, and a song that Bounty Paper Towels is, I guess, I hope it's jokingly ignoring the fact that the song Milkshake is about a woman's tits shaking. And the Bounty commercial makes it, you hear the first beats of the song and the chorus about the milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Then you hear someone spill their milkshake and they need to use the Bounty to pick it up. It's not about a milkshake. It's about you shaking your tits. So, yeah, but the singer of that, Kellis, who is 43 years old, is apparently dating 72-year-old Bill Murray. So I guess that's news, I suppose, and made the headlines around the world, so it's whatever. In the nobody really asked for this, but we're going to be getting it anyway, Bewitched and the Partridge Family are going to be getting reboots, but as animated series. Now, Bewitched is an interesting concept with a witch living amongst people. I guess you could update that for modern times. And the Partridge Family was a 1970s, like maybe even 60s sort of Donny Osmond, Johnny Marie sort of upbeat, cheerful sort of band. I think I love you and nothing gonna do about it, something like that. And I guess you could make a contemporary version of that as well, but it wouldn't. I don't know. I just don't get it. And did anybody actually ask for this? I don't know. Oh, first look at Twisted Metal. That's what it is. That's right. First look at Twisted Metal, the video game adaptation with Anthony Mackie. Shows Anthony Mackie getting beat up by the clown-faced evil creature from the video game. So that's up there as well. Godzilla escape rooms are coming to America. I guess they're over in Japan already, but we're going to be having escape rooms that deal with Godzilla. So that's interesting. May have to take my son to one of those because he loves Godzilla right now. The Witcher gets their season 3 trailer. It's the last season for Henry Cavill. So you get one more season of Henry Cavill. So quit your bitching and whining and just go ahead and watch this one. Mayday, Ryan Reynolds and Kenneth Branagh will be teaming up for an action-adventure movie called Mayday. Continuing the great year that is video games, Spider-Man 2, the video game people have been anticipating for a long time, is now officially due out on October 20th. So it's going to add another big video game coming out this year. And a RoboCop video game is also due out this year, and probably not as hugely popular as the Spider-Man one, some of the other ones, but still a very impressive selection of video games will be coming out this year. So this could be a pretty big year for video games. Speaking of which, Super Mario Brothers was a huge hit in movie theaters. I was surprised when I went into GameStop on Friday, or rather I should say on Thursday, to get V-Bucks for my son for the Battle Pass for Fortnite. And when I was up at the counter, they happened to have the Super Mario Brothers Blu-ray out. I didn't expect it to come out this early. I thought it was coming out maybe a little later this month, but it was out. So I said, I'll pick this up too. So I own a copy of Super Mario Brothers. Now, I haven't watched it yet, but it's there. But it's a hugely popular movie. I think it crossed $1 billion not too long ago. I think it's the highest grossing picture of the year so far. Because of the success, Illumination and Universal and all that are looking for more Nintendo stuff to do. And I talked about the rumor of some of the possibilities they're going to do. Well, it appears that Legend of Zelda, which is the one that absolutely makes the most sense, is the next one to get the movie version here from Nintendo Studios. It makes absolute sense to do a Legend of Zelda movie. I mean, fantasy is huge right now. It's a hugely popular brand. The new video game is one of the highest, probably might be the highest selling game of this year. though, as I said, he's going to have a lot of competition coming up over the next 6 to 7 months. So we'll see what happens. But it is the next movie rumored to be made by Illumination, which would make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Poor Things, I've seen some stuff before too, but this is the bizarre trailer for it. It's got Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and Mark Ruffalo. So it's got a big cast, but the director is one of these foreign, crazy artistic sort of directors, and it's a different take on Frankenstein, where the first part of the movie looks like it's going to be in black and white, and Emma Stone plays this woman who's got like a deformity or something, and Willem Dafoe's character, who's got like scars and stuff, like falls in love with her or something like that, and she ends up dying, and he brings her back to life, but she's different and stuff like that, and it's a color and stuff like that. It looks like a really bizarre movie, and will probably be Oscar bait down the line, but it looks like it is a take on the Frankenstein myth, but changed up a little bit. So I don't think I'll see it, but it looks kind of weird. More comic news. Jimi Hendrix is going to make a comic now, or he's not going to make a comic. He's going to have a comic based on him. Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze is a new graphic novel that's be coming out probably in October, I think they said. And it's about Jimi Hendrix trying to save the universe. So, okay. Marvel owns the rights to Predator now. So it was only a matter of time that this came out, but Predator versus Wolverine, a new series. It could be a miniseries. I think it's going to be a miniseries. It better be a miniseries. I don't think you can do a regular series with this too, but a Predator Wolverine comic will be coming out June, July, within a few months right now, but it is due out here soon. And that actually is a interesting sort of, idea, and I wouldn't mind seeing that to see how that one works out. So good on that. Any other comic news on here that I have? Not on this page, but I have some more coming up later on down the line. Now, you remember Wes Anderson has a new movie coming out end of the month called Asteroid City, and it has a very distinct trailer that they've been showing. And with this new advent and the new toys that are AI right now, they've been trying different things. So they had the AI make a Star Wars trailer using the Wes Anderson palette and characters and stuff like that, and the Asteroid City sort of style of trailer to make a Star Wars trailer, a modern trailer with Scarlett Johansson, stuff like that. Well, they struck again. They had the AI do a trailer for Wes Anderson's Avatar with Bill Murray as the main character. I haven't watched it yet, but I don't know if I really want to, because I'm not sure I really am digging this AI trend that's going around now. It's like a brand new toy, fresh toy that everybody wants to do AI stuff, but it's one of the reasons why the WGA is on strike right now. So we'll see what happens. Robotech, which was a huge hit in the 1980s, and what basically was one of the things that brought anime mainstream to America, and was one of my favorite shows of all time, is coming out with a new anime. A new Macross anime is coming out in Japan probably first, and if it does, they no longer need to redo it for American audiences like they did with the original Robotech. They took 3 Macross animes, cut them up, and made it into one linear story. They're probably not going to need to do that now with the advent of how popular anime and manga are now. Sorry. So a new Macross anime is on its way out, so we will probably be able to get that version of it, but maybe dubbed for our people. So it'd be interesting to see what they're doing with Robotech now, because I'm intrigued, actually, honestly, because I loved Robotech when I was growing up. So it was outstanding. Expendables 4 trailer was released this week, comes out September 22nd. Not real interested in it, but it's the old collection of action stars working together to do stuff, and it's high on Jason Statham and Sylvester Stallone and Megan Fox and Terry Crews and all that sort of stuff. So they're all in there. So it's your typical thing. If you like the other 3 Expendables, you'll like this one. It's due out September 22nd. This is a little interesting, and it's been happening a lot more recently. Companies, film distributors have been censoring or changing stuff in movies when they re-release it on the movies in the movie theaters or on television or whatever. In this case, the French Connection has been censored. People who watched it on it's only on the digital versions of it. If you still have the DVDs and the Blu-rays, the original cuts are in there also. But for whatever reason, there are some sequences that have been censored in the digital streaming versions of the movie The French Connection. And then a friend of mine also posted that they were watching The Breakfast Club on digital as well, and they edited out the smoking of a joint and said made it look like the character was holding a pencil, and it just didn't work. So they're secretly kind of doing this. I mean, I think we've heard the story that they've been censoring stuff, but when you have movies on streaming and digital and stuff like that, it's fairly easy to make these changes. And if you're not paying attention, or if you don't remember what you've seen, you probably wouldn't even notice anything. But there are people who've seen the movies a bunch of times. They're like, hey, that's not right. So that's something that you might start to get a little concerned about, that the film companies are editing and censoring movies to fit their agenda, I suppose, or what they believe is, a PC agenda or whatever. And it's not really, in this case, I don't agree with that. And without letting the artists know that they're doing it, that sort of thing. So it's kind of reeks of being shitty, to be honest. So we'll see how that comes down. Speaking of shitty behavior, there's a new book out called Burn It Down, written by a Variety or Vanity Fair. The Vanity Fair or Variety magazine writer who did an in-depth look over the last few years, looking at the toxic sort of atmospheres that certain TV shows and movies that we might not have heard about, but some stories are starting to leak out now due to all the stuff that's going on with Joss Whedon and stuff like that. More shows are saying, well, we had similar stuff happen. So this writer went in and investigated all these and has come up with a whole bunch of stuff. So there's all kinds of, new things popping up about how bad things are on sets, and how, a lot of these sets that people think are happy and go lucky are actually toxic. And this book actually details it in detail, some of the big ones out there. So it's worth a read, I think. I have it on my Amazon list. But I have a lot of other stuff that I want to read technically before, but it is an important book. Probably should check it out and see what's going on with that. Some couple weird school news things. One is a local school news story. Broadneck High School had their graduation. Obviously, everyone else is having their graduations around this time of the year. But someone noticed on their diploma that the name of the school was spelled wrong on every one of them. It's called Broad Bank, is what was written on the diploma, even though it is Broadneck High School. Broad Bend or whatever is Broadneck or whatever was the name that is on the diploma, and not the proper name of the high school. So that's kind of a foobar. And Texas A&M University offers a class on Texas barbecue, not just on how to prepare and stuff like that, but the history of barbecue, the history of spices, how to prepare it properly. And supposedly it is a Friday afternoon class that's like a 3-hour class or whatever, and they show how to cook it and the history and stuff like that. That's kind of an intriguing idea. That's why college is kind of interesting. Most colleges can come up with a fairly unique classes and stuff like that, and that one is definitely one here. In the Cutometer, a raccoon was videotaped getting a free donut from a donut drive-through. There's a shot of somebody who was in a car, obviously waiting to get their donut, when they saw this raccoon run across the street up to the window, and someone threw the donut, and the raccoon grabbed his hands and ran off. That's kind of cute to see that. Scientists have transformed volcanic vibrations at Yellowstone Park into a hypnotic flute solo, which is kind of fascinating, and I kind of want to hear it. I just saw the article and they didn't really have the sound on it. A meteorite found in Somalia contains 2 new minerals not found on Earth, so that's kind of interesting to see that there could be other rocks and stuff like that out in the universe. A rare 95 million year old Titanosaur skull was found on a beach in Australia. They're always finding those all over the place there. Jacksonville Jaguars football team is in desperate need of a new stadium, and someone has created the potential for what could be their new stadium, a mock-up of a good new stadium that looks absolutely fascinating and actually looks really good if they can afford it. It could be a really interesting stadium and could redefine stadiums throughout the NFL. So that's kind of a neat look as well. One of the fun things about Halloween is never too early to start talking Halloween because it's my favorite season. It's one of my favorite holidays. One of the things that pop up, probably right around mid-September, you'll start seeing it, are the monster cereals, Frankenberry, Count Chocula, Boo Berry, something mummy, some funky mummy or whatever those they are. And they're usually on display on end caps like that, and they only come out during the Halloween season. Well, for the first time, because they were hugely popular, for the first time in a long time, two brand new monster cereals are coming out this year. One is Carmella Creeps, which I guess is a caramel sort of flavor one. Carmella Creeper, I'm sorry. And Monster Mash Remix, which looks like to me that they're just throwing all the monster cereals into a box, mixing around and says, you're going to get what you're going to get. And that could be an interesting one to try out. So, well, that's to be continued, but that's, it's always good to start talking Halloween and fall and stuff like that. So it's always good to see that sort of stuff. Anniversaries. Elemental, yes. Tears for Fears, a solo album by one of the Tears for Fears guys. Tears for Fears was a huge band in the 80s, and they disappeared for a while. And then in 1993, which is back when I was working at the Diamond Warehouse, and the last time the Orioles had the All-Star game, Elemental came out, and I remember hearing it on 98 Rocks, the original song for it, and I loved the album so much I went and got it. And my car at the time had a CD player, so I played the CD, and it's one of those CDs that you can play. It's like 10, 11 songs on the CD, and I can run all of them through and not be bored. Well, there's like one or two I'm bored. I don't like too much, but I can bear with them to get to the good songs. It includes one of the greatest diss tracks of all time in Fish Out of Water, because Tears for Fears used to be a duo. And when this album came out, only had one singer on it. And Fish Out of Water is the one where he totally disses his partner. Now, they have since reconciled and are now out back touring again, doing the Tears for Fears together. But it is one of the most outstanding songs out there, and definitely worth a listen. Fish Out of Water. It is a absolute diss track, and it's fantastic. But the whole album in general is outstanding. It's a great 90s vibe, and just so good. So many good songs on it. Other anniversaries, Kung Fu Panda's 15 years old this week. The Rock, which is the only Michael Bay movie. I haven't seen The Island yet. That's one that I think I might like also, but I plan on maybe seeing that during my week off from work during July. But The Rock is 27 years old this week as well. And Prometheus is 11 years old. 11-year anniversary, I should say, this week as well. I remember seeing that in the movie theater too. And finally, the two deaths on this page. Tony McPhee died at the age of 79, the Groundhogs guitarist and frontman. Don't know the Groundhogs, but he died this week. And Jim Hines, the first sprinter to run 100 meters in less than 10 seconds, died at the age of 76 this week as well. So I got a page and a half left. So last week's episode was an hour. This is going to be a little longer. So let's move on to the next thing. Since I'm stuck with the deaths, maybe we'll continue with the deaths here. Francois Gillet was one of Picasso's former lovers and an artist in her own right. She died at the age of 101 this week. Astrid Gilberto, the singer of The Girl from Ipanema, and probably the iconic version of the song, she's the one that sang it, died this week. Roger Craig, former Major League Baseball world champion player and manager, died at the age of 93 this week. Jesse Maple, broke barriers in filmmaking. She was a black film editor and female black film editor, died at the age of 84. Barry Newman, a 70s actor, appeared in movies like Vanishing Point and The Limey, died at the age of 92 this week. Across the Spider-Verse last week made $120.5 million. If it continues to do that, it could catch up to Super Mario Brothers enough, though Super Mario Brothers I still think has the best track record here. But Across the Spider-Verse right now is the best what is it? A best reviewed movie of the year so far. And I guarantee you it'll be up for best animated feature and will probably win because the original one won best animated feature for the Oscars and very well may also make it to best picture nominee as well. So we'll see what happens. My daughter really loved it. I haven't seen it yet, but my daughter really loved it. So I trust my daughter's instinct on that. Rob Savage, who directed Stephen King's The Boogeyman, which didn't really make much big of a splash in the movie theaters this week, says he wants to remake The Langoliers. The Langoliers was one of his short stories that they made into a TV show, which wasn't bad, and still kind of interesting. It's a time travel sort of thing where people in an airplane are flying, and then a flash of light happens, and there's only 7 people on this plane. They realize they're stuck in time, and they land in an airport where there's nobody around, and there's stuff is coming away. There are these creatures called the Langoliers, which eat time of the past, so you can't travel back in time. They have to figure out a way to escape before they die. So yeah, it's sort of Suitable Flesh, I guess is the name of this one, which the H.P. Lovecraft film with Heather Graham has got a distributor, so we'll be seeing that in movies theaters soon enough. Megan Surrey, Harry Gronkin, and Lucas Gage have joined the cast of Companion, the sci-fi film from the creators of Barbarian, which was a hugely popular horror film. Melissa Barrero's film Your Monster has been described as a horror rom-com musical. Andy Muschietti, who's directing the awful Flash movie coming out next week, is rumored to be the frontliner for the Brave and the Bold, which is James Gunn's Batman movie. So he's the frontrunner for that. Elle Fanning and Sarah Paulson have been cast in I Am Sybil remake of the film. Miracle Workers, the TV show on TBS with Daniel Radcliffe and Steve Buscemi, which every season takes place with the same actors, but they play different roles at different time frames. They've done one where they start off as they were angels, and then Steve Buscemi was God, and he wanted to destroy the universe. Then there was the Wild West one. There was the medieval sort of Prince one as well. There was the Oregon Trail one, which is, I think, the most recent one that just came out. And now their newest season is going to be a Mad Max post-apocalyptic kind of world. It's kind of a neat idea, and it's kind of like the Mr. Bean show. Not Mr. Bean, the actor, Rowan Atkinson's Black Adder show, which was basically had the same cast but set in different eras, and this is kind of what they're doing, and it's been fairly successful on TBS. I mean, it's like the 5th or 6th season, so, and it's Daniel Radcliffe being able to try something different, and Steve Buscemi as well, so it's kind of interesting to see the two of them together. But they're doing a Mad Max season now. We got a behind-the-scenes look of Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie in Captain America 4, which has now been changed from New World Order to Brave New World, so it's now Captain America 4, Brave New World. Instead of New World Order. Galen Sussman, who was the woman who saved Toy Story 2. I think you've heard the story. When Toy Story 2 was being made, about 93% of it was done, and someone deleted it all, which is years of working on it, and they'd already talked about it coming out. They might have done some teaser trailers for it, whatever. But the whole movie was deleted by accident. And Pixar was screwed. It could have been the end because they were still, if I remember, they'd only had a couple movies come out at that point. And they very well that could have been the end of them if it wasn't for Galen Sussman, who was a woman who worked on the movie, and she was pregnant. but she had a copy of it at her house so she could work on it while she was on maternity leave. So her copy did not get deleted. So she was able to give it to Pixar, and that became Toy Story 2. Well, it doesn't have a happy ending. Pixar, who's undergoing layoffs right now, they laid off Galen this week as well, which is not good after she saved their asses. But okay. Speaking of Stephen King, I talked about him just not too long ago. There's going to be a documentary about Stephen King adaptations in television and film coming out in August, and that's an interesting documentary to make. But okay, I'm all for it. I think it'd be really cool. The official bar, the actual bar, not the set, but the bar, which Sam Malone worked behind in Cheers, and Norm and Cliff and Frasier and all of them were sitting around, and Woody and all of them were behind it. The actual bar was sold at auction for $675,000 in Dallas. So someone bought the actual bar from Cheers, the TV show. The Nicolas Cage psychological thriller Sympathy for the Devil had its first trailer come out. Nothing too exciting for me. Not interested in it that much. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who did a episode of South Park set in a actual Denver Mexican restaurant called Casa Bonita, and then discovered recently that Casa Bonita has gone under. So they used their fortune to buy and refurbish Casa Bonita. They put $40 million into restoring it, and it is now going to be open in Denver, restored to its full luster and glory. Good Omens Season 2, we finally get our first look at what the new season of Good Omens is about. It's a season that should not exist. It's based on a book written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. The first one was based on the book by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, but Terry Pratchett passed away before they even wrote a sequel. So when Amazon came and said they wanted to make a TV version of Good Omens, Gaiman was like, "That's great, we'll do it." And so he did. And because it was hugely popular, like, do you have a sequel idea? Now, Neil didn't want to do anything without Terry. And since Terry Pratchett has passed away, he passed on it because it's like, I can't do it without Terry. It just wouldn't be right. But then he remembered, or he discovered, excuse me again, sorry. He discovered that he and Terry had already written notes for a potential sequel to the book before Terry passed away, and it never came to fruition. And I guess Neil sort of put it away for a while. So he found it, dug it back out, and there's some of Terry's notes in there and stuff like that. So they knew what they were planning to do for the sequel. So Neil said, "You know what? I can probably do one more because we have enough notes from Terry as well that it wouldn't feel like a diss for Terry, because it's not just a Neil Gaiman thing, it's a Neil Gaiman Terry Pratchett thing." So he was able to craft a new season for Good Omens. It's due out July 28th, and the first trailer for it comes out. Apparently it's going to be about Michael the Archangel is taking a vacation from heaven, but that is going to cause discord between heaven and hell for some reason. And Crowley and Azrael are going to hide him because they don't want him to get caught up in this or something like that. So that's just a general idea. So it looks interesting. So we'll see what happens. But season 2 trailer has popped up on that. Oh, there it is. Speaking of comic books, Gene Simmons has a little bit of a interesting take on things. He says aliens will be able to use blood from the Kiss comic books to recreate humans. Now, there's a couple things I have a problem with this. And to be fair, there is a precedent. But what the hell is he talking about blood in the comics? Now, there's only one comic that I know of that might have blood, but I think it's more along the lines of Ashes. Mark Gruenwald, who is a great writer, And probably one of the greatest things he ever wrote was a 12-part Squadron Supreme miniseries, which was outstanding. I loved it. I love to reread it over and over again. It is such a great story, and it makes you think. Basically, Squadron Supreme is the Justice League, but in Marvel. So all the characters are archetypes of DC characters. You got your Superman one, you got your Batman, you got your Green Lantern, you got your Flash, you got your Wonder Woman, and you got some other ones as well. And they're in another dimension, so they're not really part of the Marvel universe. So the 12-part miniseries had the superheroes coming up with a way to create a mind-altering machine. So when they caught the bad guys, instead of throwing them in jail and having them, waste away the rest of their lives or possibly escaping to wreak havoc and kill people again, they decided to change their behavior modify them into being good. So that's, that becomes a major issue because yes, they're evil, and they are intent on killing and maiming and hurting and breaking the law, but you still have no right to change people's free will. But that's what the comic's about. And it's so good because some of the heroes don't like what they're doing, but at the same time, you're seeing that it's working. The world is becoming a utopia because there's no bad guys, but there's one of the good guys. The Batman archetype is like, this isn't right. We need to figure out a way, we can't have this. And that's where the story, it's so good. It's such a great story. And it was the one that the rumor is that in a specific printing of the trade of the 12-issue trade, they put Grunwald's ashes, I think, not his blood, but at least his ashes in the ink or something like that. It could be his blood also, but they put some after he died, obviously. Are we to think that Gene Simmons put blood in the ink? And I mean, I guess it has precedence, but what does that have to do with Kiss? I mean, I can maybe see it if you're doing that for a horror film, but what? And aliens, are humans going to die? I don't understand you there, Gene. So, okay. Spirit Halloween, again, not too soon to talk about Halloween. Spirit Halloween, actually, I saw a sign, like the flagship shop, I guess, of Pennsylvania or something like that, as opening very soon, and they're asking for people to come and sign up. So, I mean, look, it's June. It's still a little early for that. We won't start seeing the Spirit Halloween stuff popping up probably till August. But around here anyway, but Spirit Halloween, they have a new item that they're going to have in stock when they reopen in time for Halloween. You all remember Beanie Babies. Well, how about Horror Babies? Spirit Halloween is going to have Leatherface, Pennywise, Sam from Trick or Treat, and I can't read the last one, but a horror icon turned into these lovable, adorable sort of mini beanie bag baby sort of things. It's kind of interesting, right? I think it's kind of interesting anyway. But yeah, so we got that, and they got that coming up here too. So that's kind of good. Speaking of cereal, I talked about the other kind of cereal we had here. Fruit Loops is getting involved with stuff too. They're doing a Willy Wonka version of their Fruit Loops cereal, but I don't think it's chocolate flavored. It didn't look like it. And it is the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka. So that's kind of interesting to see that. Twix, Snickers, and M&Ms have all been turned into coffees. And you can get the ground coffees now somewhere. I haven't seen them in my grocery shop. Warm glazed donut ice cream sandwich. So instead of it being the black, chewy sandwich part and you have the ice cream in the middle, they have two warm glazed donuts holding the ice cream together. So a shop has that out in time for summer right now. In something that could destroy golf, the PGA is joining forces with the Saudi Arabian rival Live Golf to combine into one big golf thing. Became a big deal because Saudi Arabia is housed to people who've killed American soldiers and American media guy, thanks to the previous president turning him in. And plus they give the criminals in the White House before Joe Biden, the Trumps and stuff like that. I hate saying his name, but I have to say it so that we differentiate them. Lots of money to turn in Americans so they could kill them. That's basically what they did. Again, showing how traitors they are. and the PGA is not the PGA was not happy when Live made its appearance. So any of the golfers that went to Live were not allowed to do PGA tournaments anymore. So now you're combined, and it's kind of freaking people out at golf and thinking that now they're teaming up with despots and stuff like that. So I guess I could care less about golf, to be honest, but we'll see. Anniversary, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan came out in 1982, so that's 41 years old this year. The Hangover is 14 years ago. The original Hangover is 14 years ago this week. Poltergeist also came out in 1982. And actually, I think there's going to be a documentary series on the CW about the summer of 1982, which had E.T., Poltergeist, Star Trek, and some other stuff as well. Blade Runner, I think, is in there as well. Dead Poet Society came out this week in 1989. And Con Air came out 16 years ago or 26 years ago, I should say, 1997. God, 26 years ago, 1997. Space Camp also came out 37 years ago this week. That's a little known film about, Space Camp was a huge thing in the 80s. Has Leah Thompson, Joaquin Phoenix, when he was known as Leaf Phoenix. And I forget the actual name, but the guy who played the gay guy in Revenge of the Nerds, the gay black guy, Revenge of the Nerds. And there's a few other ones in there, the other actors in there as well. But it's basically Space Camp was in the 80s. That's when NASA and space became a huge deal with the space shuttle and all that. And Space Camp was a camp you could go to in Houston, which, for a week that would have kids, like my son's age or my daughter's age, going through astronaut training. So they would put on the suits and they'd be put into the swimming pools and they'd be taught how to feel like to be, weightless, and they'd be in the vomit comet and they'd learn all that kind of stuff. And then they would all have the sort of thing. Well, Space Camp is basically what if those kids were put on board a spaceship and they were accidentally launched outer space and they had to learn to survive working together. So it's a fun little film. I haven't seen it in a while, but it is a classic 80s film and it came out 37 years ago this week. All right, we got a half page to go, and then we are done for this weekend. Naomi Watts and Billy Crudup are now married. Good on them. Transformers G.I. Joe comic book is coming to Image. That's Marvel did it first, but now they're doing it in Image now. Al Ewing and Leonard Kirk are doing a new Avengers title called Avengers Inc. with the Wasp as the leader. So it's good on that. That'll be the last story of the week. A Pokemon thief has stolen 2.2 million yen in trading cards for Pokemon. So that's crazy. I thought there was something else that was comic book related. Maybe I read it already. Okay. There's a bear sleeping bag. So it's a sleeping bag that looks like when you crawl inside and you put the head over and you fall asleep, it looks like a sleeping bear. So it's nice and warm and comfy, probably. I have no idea what that says. Man sues the Anaheim Angels after being blinded by a ball that he says a player threw a little too hard into the stands. Oh, woman wandering on a California beach finds a mastodon tooth. That's the one I was trying to figure out. So those are kind of some interesting stories about that. That one about the being blinded is crazy. Hocus Pocus 3 is coming. Has been announced that a third part will be coming out here soon. Spicy pineapple jalapeno Doritos is the new black label Doritos coming out soon. Delta Airlines has created a first of its kind airplane seat for passengers in wheelchairs. Basically, it sort of is a wheelchair, but stationary in the airplane. So basically, instead of having someone in a wheelchair sit in a regular airplane seat like they do now, they have a specialized seat that is supposed to help alleviate any issues, whatever, with them, so that they can sit there. So they're rolling that out to see how well that actually works. That's kind of cool. For the first time in 100 years, actually, they said for the second time in 100 years, a wild wolverine, the actual animal that the comic character is based on, and spotted in California forest. So there, they just haven't been seen in over 100 years, so in that area. So that's interesting to see them. Again, climate change probably shifting them down to a lower level from where they're probably used to being up in the Canadian area. That's why Wolverine's Canadian, because Wolverines tend to be up in Canada, but now moving their way down to California due to climate and food and stuff like that. Makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of thing as well. Anniversaries. Parasite, the Best Picture winner, came out 4 years ago this week. Harry and the Hendersons, another great 80s film, 1987, came out this week. Deaths. Norma Hunt, who is the matriarch of the Kansas City Chiefs, died at the age of 85. And Glenn Ford, film editor of The Right Stuff, died at the age of 77 this week. Kelly Nakahara, nurse on the TV show MASH, died at the age of 73 this week as well. Final story this week is kind of interesting. It's a local sort of story, and it's popped up on TikTok. That's how interesting, how big the story actually was. So basically, I forget, it was a Tuesday. It was before the smoke came. So it was a Monday or Tuesday. A sonic boom was heard over Washington, D.C. And people who are making TikTok videos or reels or whatever at that time who weren't expecting that got it on the video, and you can hear it and see it and stuff like that. And it was so loud, and the airplane that created it was in the no-fly zone over Washington, D.C., that Andrews Air Force Base sent out airplanes to double check and make sure that it was not enemy crafts or whatever. Turns out it was an airplane that crashed in Virginia, killing everybody on board. And apparently, from what they've been discovering, is that the person had blacked out, I guess, while doing the sonic boom, I would assume. I don't know why they did a sonic boom. I don't know why they were flying in the no-fly zone. They haven't really gone in and told us much more about the story. But it has crashed and killed, I believe, everybody on board. But a sonic boom was heard over Washington, D.C. That was heard as far south as Virginia Beach, stuff like that, and as far north as, I don't think we heard it. They claim we probably could have heard up in Baltimore, but I don't think so. It was a sonic boom, and it was this airplane that someone broke the speed of sound over Washington, D.C.'s no-fly zone, and they crashed in Virginia. So intriguing story that really doesn't have an answer. I guess it's a to be continued sort of thing to see how that goes. And that is the end of that episode of Dylan Knows, episode 504. Next week is episode 505. It is Father's Day weekend. As I said, the last day of school is on Tuesday, but it's already done for my kids. Flag Day is on the 14th. And that's really all that's really happening next week. So we'll see if next week is going to be as intriguing as this week has been. Thanks, and y'all have a great day. I'm going to the Oriole game later today. About 12 hours from now, I'll be at the game. So I will see you then, and take care, and have a good rest of your weekend and a good week coming up. I will see you Father's Day weekend, and get closer. 9 days for my 50th birthday. Night.